What is the fastest way a room of happy people turns sour you've witnessed? We had to work on a holiday but management didn't, so there was nobody to unlock the building. We waited outside from 7 a.m. until 7:45 and were told that if we didn't get in by 8 we could go home. 7:55 the manager shows up and lets us in. When the boss got drunk at the Christmas party and let slip that there was going to be layoffs coming in the new year. In grad school we were gathered in a room to hear about how the last term of classes in the program was going to be cut due to a new law regarding educator requirements for the state. Everyone was stoked because it was gonna save us like $5,000 to $8,000. Then they told us that due to state budget cuts, our total tuition was going to double. Was bartending on one of our restaurant's busiest days. Place was packed and man and a boy of about 9 couldn't stop wrestling and giggling. The man about 30 years old started repeatedly yelling, "I'm gonna grab your penis." Yeah, the whole place dropped dead silent. Mother grabs the kid and says they need to chill out. Camp. 150 kids headed to an ice skating rink. Everyone laughing, cheering, having fun. Sitting on school buses for 2 hours. The place is closed. Instant chaos, screaming, general unhappiness. Took us back the next day, but still the angriest I've ever seen. 150 kids. Was on a team, about 15 people, for a special project for a regional internet service provider. During the bi-weekly team meeting the manager was super pumped about how far ahead of schedule we were due to some new processes we came up with. After about 20 minutes of attaboys, the manager concluded with telling us all we were being laid off in the same tone of voice she used for the whole meeting, issuing a bunch of praise. Most of us awkwardly laughed for a couple seconds thinking she was joking. She was not. One day at work we had an hour meeting followed by a planned pizza party as a reward for meeting some safety goal. They'd been telling us all week not to worry about food because they were getting pizza. Well, after the meeting we're sitting around waiting for the pizza to get there when out boss comes in and tells us there was a failure of communication and no one actually ordered the pizza. If you want to see 50 factory workers go from excited to murder ready in less than a second, that's what you tell them. Family gathering was going great until the host realized she was missing thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. She started accusing everyone of being thieves until her husband said he put it away without telling her. I worked at a casino for a couple of years and the joke is totally true. How do you piss off 500 old people? Yell bingo. This is more of a mild story but still very uncomfortable. It was at work during break, a whole bunch of us were outside smoking. One guy asks my co-worker if he has any kids, says that he likes to dress up as Santa for the young ones. So my co-worker tells him I have a daughter that just turned 20, and he replied with, well, she can definitely come sit on my lap. The silence after that sentence was so painful. Everyone ended up going back inside after that. It was super awkward. Someone admitted that they took advantage of a very, very drunk woman in a game of Never Have I Ever. This story took place my freshman year of high school. I was in an extremely small 5th period theater course with maybe about 10 or 15 other people in it. We were a very well-behaved class that acted more like a family than anything else. It was fun. However, one day we got a substitute teacher who I'll call D. D was old. She had short white hair, permanent scowl, and always wore a jacket that looked like a duster. That particular day she was angry and you could tell. She had a difficult time with the computer playing the movie, so she was yelling, fussing, and blaming her ignorance on us. In our class we had several tech-savvy people, but she refused all help because we were too risky. Eventually she gets it to work, giving us the chance to ignore her. Around 10 minutes into the film someone realized she hasn't said anything in a while, so they look over and see her eyes opened, still, and unresponsive. They turn to the rest of the class, who were still focused on the movie, and alerts them. Everyone begins to freak out. People are taking flash pictures of her, waving, etc. everything to get her to respond. Eventually she woke up, yelled at us, then went back to sleep with her eyes open once more. It was the freakiest situation ever, but the good news is that I never saw that sub working for my school again. Bride throwing up on herself and the dance floor during the first dance. She tried to hold it back, but the groom just pointed her towards the dance floor and she let her rip. Was impressive. Telling them they're all going to be let go just before Christmas. Every family reunion when my one aunt gets drunk and brings up my other aunt that died. Happens every time. I was helping to run a Christian disco when I was a teenager back in the 80s. Everyone was happy and dancing until I innocently played Tainted Love. The entire dance floor cleared in seconds because apparently, Tainted Love is a gay anthem. I am from and still live in Atlanta. So gonna go with when I was out at a bar during the Falcons/Patriots Super Bowl game. I was there for the classic, took photos afterwards, wish I had started looting like some of my coworkers. Congratulations, we've hit all our sales goals, the company is looking up, record profits, we all gather you here today to tell you our company is doing great. However, we are shutting down this facility to reorganize our business interest going forward. Here's your separation paperwork. Worst thing is how the place was divided into 3 camps of A. People in denial or out and out crying at the news. B. People who saw it coming and stoically accepted it, and C. People who hated their jobs and were incredibly happy they were being let go and getting severance to boot. Back in high school, there was a classmate of mine whose father had died. The circumstances of his death were tragic enough, he died the same day my classmate was born, that all of the school knew about it. One day we were messing around, nothing too rowdy, just cracking dumb jokes the way 15-year-old kids do, and our French teacher singled him out and said, "Your father would be so disappointed by your behavior." The class became completely quiet. My classmate froze, staring at the teacher in utter disbelief. Then every single one of us started shouting at the teacher. She even went to get the principal, which turned out to be counterproductive for her, because we were the best class of our school, and the principal didn't doubt our word for a second. Walking into the school library to see the video after having just heard from a breathless teacher that Challenger exploded. There was a teacher on that flight and several grades of science classes had been in the library watching it live. At a small gathering, as the lid was lifted on an extra-large pizza, a guy with a miserable cold sneezed directly onto it. Running out of booze at a wedding. Like an hour into the reception. Luckily I had a flask because I'm not an amateur. Movie theater. Parents and their kids went to go watch Princess and the Frog movie, and another movie came up with 2 people fucking in a closet. Edit. I have no idea what the movie was, sorry guys and gals. The only thing I remember is a guy fucking his co-worker on top of a table or scanner/printer with his pants down. You are able to see his bare ass. This was in 2009, so if anyone knows what movie it might be, please let me know because I am actually curious as well. I was once at a disco on Hogmanay in Scotland and the DJ played God Save the Queen instead of Flower of Scotland at midnight. He was lucky he made it out alive. The other day, on Thanksgiving, my brother cracked a cold beer right as we were about to eat. Problem was, we were at my mom's and she's super anti-alcohol, unless she wants some. Well, since my brother cracked one, my dad did too, and my mom turned into some shit from The Exorcist. Screaming, cussing my dad and brother, hurling personal insults, looking for keys so she could threaten to leave, the whole 9 yards. The worst part is I haven't been up to see them in months, so I had just driven 3+ hours with my kids and my husband and we had just gotten there 30 minutes prior. I just sat there awkwardly staring at my husband while the brawl took place until we could sneak out on the porch to hide. Then we all ate in silence. How was y'all's holiday? We were discussing road safety with the headmaster. One of the pupils pointed out that there had been a car crash right in front of her just as she had been about to step out onto the road, earlier that week, which had been really scary. The headmaster laughed and asked her what she was wearing and if it had been her fault. Absolute silence for 10 seconds as he squirmed and then mumbled, "I mean, were you wearing a ball gown?" Or, as if that had been what he'd meant. Pathetic and excruciating. A 50-year-old man to a teenage girl. When they revealed that Drake was the special guest at Camp Flognaw instead of Frank Ocean. One time we were all making fun of people who don't believe in evolution until one girl pipes up and goes, "I don't believe in evolution." And #X200B. Dead silence until, in her divine wisdom, she adds, and #X200B. If we're descended from apes, then why are there still apes? Family members waiting outside the baby ward, the husband comes out with a shocked expressions, sits down and says, "The kid's not mine." Everyone becomes confused but then are horrified. A day later, I could see the husband talking to who is presumed are his in-laws, begging him not to leave their daughter and saying they'll do something about the baby. BlizzCon 2018, when a new Diablo was announced for mobile devices. Watching the series finale of Lost. Chilling with some of the boys and finding out that one of the boys that wasn't there had committed suicide. Edit. Didn't realize that it said that you've witnessed. This didn't happen, but something moderately similar happened. Family up at the cottage, some backform fishing, others playing board games, others still just having fun. All British decent within 2 generations and plenty of family still on England and Scotland. Breaking news, Princess Diana is dead. When my brother showed up to his last Christmas in 2010 before getting kicked out of the family. When I was a teenager, I went to a Philadelphia Flyers game with my dad when they hosted the New Jersey Devils. The Devils were up 3-0 midway through the first period, then the Flyers clawed their way back over the next 30 minutes of ice time to tie it up going into the third, sending the crowd into a frenzy. The Flyers scored at the start of the third, getting everyone hyped for a big division win, and then the Devils scored 4 straight times in 10 minutes, blowing the Flyers out. Lots of unhappy people that night. It was snowing hard one day, and everybody thought we would get an early release. We all waited eagerly for the announcement to come. Then the vice principal came on and told us we'd be getting out at regular time. It made everybody upset and ruined the day. It didn't help that the roads were so icy, people were getting into near crashes on the roads. Bad snowstorms started about 4 a.m. a few years ago. My co-workers and I were texting each other thinking no way would they make us come into our job today, we are non-essential workers. We're all home waiting for the email to go out regarding whether or not our boss would give us the day off. Email finally goes out around 7:30 a.m. saying that we would have a shorter day but everyone must show up for work by 9. So I layered up, cleaned off my car, shoveled out of my parking spot and headed to work on very precarious roads. I got to work on time and was greeted by my co-workers who were all pretty happy just to not have gotten into an accident on the way over. All of the clients and meetings had been cancelled, so there was a party-like atmosphere. Just as we were talking about playing charades, we get another email from the boss saying because road conditions were so bad they were closing the agency after all and everyone had to go home. This was 20 minutes after we had all gotten there. I have never seen 20 plus people all scream "Are you fucking kidding me" at the same time before. It was absurd and everyone was pissed. Do Saints fans witnessing the Minneapolis Miracle count? Whole company, 60 plus people, gathered at a product unveiling / cheerleading event where we were expecting surprising news, bonuses. Instead we were informed that the least senior and biggest dickhead was promoted to partner. All downhill from there. Just one person entering the room. There is always one person who can kill a good vibe by simply existing. Disclaimer: I was 12. Don't hate me. Neighbor was a late 20s single guy. Or so I thought. Turns out he had a new girlfriend. I could hear them having a very happy candlelight dinner in their garden from my bedroom window. It was dark on a weekend IRC. Anyway, it sounded like the date was going well. She was very giggly. Me, I was alone and very bored. It was 2003 and I had no internet. So what do? Like the coward I am, without showing my face I shout from the window in the most Cockney accent I could muster. First date? WUH hey. I was screaming with laughter lying prone under my window so as not to be seen. When I calmed down a little I peeked outside to see the damage. The previously smiling woman was pouty as fuck. They'd stopped talking for the most part. Just looking up scowling at my window. This all made me laugh even harder and I had to go downstairs as I knew I wouldn't stop laughing. As an adult now I know I was a little shit, but the memory still makes me laugh to this day. Her expression is what did it for me. I was in a bar once when a massive brawl broke out. It seemed to go from all smiles and laughter to chairs and glasses being thrown all over the place in the blink of an eye. I don't even have any idea what kicked it off. Backstory: all of my family is really skinny except for me and 2 other people. Well, at Thanksgiving dinner, us 3 bigger people were sitting in the back of the room unable to get out without at least 3 people having to move. Small room, big table. My mom, sitting near the exit of the room, said, "You back people, if you need more food let me know." My uncle immediately interrupted her and said, "Did you just say you fat people?" Everyone just kinda stopped and stared. It was very traumatizing. A friend of mine ended a party with the sort of fart that is banned by the Geneva Convention. He let rip. Everyone went home. My grandma at Christmas telling my cousin she going to hell for her tattoos. Little did she know that half her grandkids have tattoos, me included. I wasn't there, but when the Metallica concert in New Delhi was cancelled, 30,000 fans were already at the venue, super excited and waiting for 3+ hours for the concert to begin. India is not exactly a hot destination for big musicians, so when Metallica came over for their first concert in India ever, people flew in from all over the country to attend. Metallica is pretty popular in India as well. I hear angry fans rushed the stage and broke equipment after the cancellation was announced. A game of Monopoly? Yelled big tits at my band's banquet. I was told it stood for band is great, take it to state. We didn't go to state either. Thanksgiving dinner. Politics. Edit. My Mexican side of my family has all the same politics as me, but my white side, LOL, we don't talk no more. Not a room, but a stadium. Michigan Stadium with roughly 110,000 cheering their butts off on the verge of beating Michigan State for the first time in Lord knows how long. All we had to do is get a clean punt off and we win, but of course we muffed the punt. MSU recovers and takes it and scores for the win as the 110K people, once going ballistic with excitement, turned to dead silence. While I'm still bitter, I'm amazed I got to witness such a contrast. Was at a small party with my very recent ex and several friends, all of whom knew we were broken up. A couple of hours in, one of our mutual friends who is too drunk very loudly propositioned us for a threesome. All the chatter immediately stopped. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone was staring at me for a reaction and she loudly asked, "What? Am I not hot enough for you?" I looked to my ex and she told the friend, "Meddling kids wouldn't touch me with a 40-foot pole now, skull and crossbones, woozy face." A little backstory. I was about 6 or 7 at the time. My dad was addicted to coke and meth, and was using both daily. He really hated me because I'm autistic, and would constantly say hurtful things / hit me, etc. Sometimes he would do mean things to me, and then would go to play with my little brother and he would tell him to shun me as an extra punishment. I would sometimes go days without talking to my family members, as ordered from my dad. Anyways, this was a day where he was being particularly awful in the car on our way to Best Buy. When we got there, he put my brother on his shoulders, told him to ignore me, and started picking out games for the PlayStation that I wasn't allowed to touch. We got to the line and I was so tired of it, I yelled, "I'm tired of you being mean. I want you to stop hurting me and pretending to be nice. Stop hurting me." The whole store went silent. He tried to laugh it off, but he got a lot of side eye, and one woman pulled her kid away from him. It was an awesome feeling, followed by a sinking feeling when the store remained quiet until I left with him, starting to talk about financial problems, inheritances, etc. Play What's New Pussycat on repeat with just a single play of It's Not Unusual in between. This happens all the time when me and my buddies are watching hockey. Here's how it goes down, mood at each step captured in brackets. Our favorite team scores a goal, happy. The other team calls for a video review, annoyed, concerned. The goal is overturned because the zone entry 75 seconds prior was offside by 0.01 millimeters, rage. Spoiler for Avengers Endgame, even though it's been months. Some a whole wrote Iron Man dies on the back of all of the worksheets that were passed to us. As students we obviously flipped it to the back because we wanted to see what hell awaited us for the next 50 minutes. Instead of hearing sighs I just hear a slam and several upset faces. Just say communism has its merits near my family and watch the veins bulge. Montel Jordan concert. After the fourth time he sang the first lines and first chorus of a different song and then immediately turned it into "This is how we do it." We were all laughing about this guy who wouldn't quit messaging my friend and literally stalking her IRL, coming to her job etc. We were making jokes about his Facebook profile when she accidentally clicked on messages and saw this Bible of text, explaining how she was the reason that he hadn't killed himself yet. Opposite, but oh well. Everyone was upset because we had maths next lesson. It was a Monday too. We were year 7, 6th grade I think. This particular lunch break was about to be a lot more eventful than I thought. Some girl smoked in the bathrooms, put the cigarette in the bin without even putting it out and started a fire. Saying we were happy would be an understatement. A couple of friends and myself were having a low-key get-together in high school. We were all drinking and having a good time playing beer pong and whatnot. Next thing we know, we hear a loud ass bang outside. The proximity of the sound and direction was right where all of our cars were parked. We all went out there to check and see what happened. My car had its tire blown up and mirror ripped off. My buddy's car parked next to mine also had the mirror ripped off. So now a bunch of underage kids who had been drinking had to apprehensively call the police to file a report. While the cops are on their way, we discover a cell phone that belonged to the girl's ex-boyfriend whose house we're at. My car looked very similar to the guys who she had been hooking up with, so that's why my vehicle received the bulk of the damage. I had absolutely nothing to do with their love triangle. The cops show up and were super rude to me. I casually cursed a couple of times just being upset. Yeah no, since my car's tire just blew up and mirror got ripped off for no reason. The cop said if I kept cursing he was going to write me a ticket. Had to deal with all of this while pretty inebriated. Everyone was pretty upset by the whole thing. TLDR, casual underage drinking ruined by jealous ex-boyfriend. Didn't witness it personally but heard about it and the aftermath. Back in 2006 an army unit was being extended beyond its original 12-month deployment to Iraq. This was the first extension for the surge and before it became common. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld traveled to the unit's home base to address the families of the soldiers and let them know why these soldiers weren't coming home and the few that had made it home were having to turn around and go back. It wasn't a horribly happy crowd to start with, but they were willing to hear him out and be respectful. Apparently he came in incredibly conceited about the whole situation and basically made a comment along the lines of "they are soldiers and will do what they are told and like it." He was completely lacking in empathy or understanding and just expected everyone to accept and support the decision. This comment and demeanor immediately turned the crowd hostile and the town hall was quickly cancelled and Rumsfeld had to be escorted out by his security detail.